Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Wendy Savino Archives. Hey. We got a great one for you today. Yes, everybody. We got a great one today, and thank you so much for being with me. I really appreciate it. Everyone out there in Son of Sam land. And so what are we doing today? Well, I think we're taking the gloves off today, guys. It's time to do this. This is something that I never even really had under my radar. I really couldn't have cared less about Berkowitz and his Christianity. Like, I just figured that's just something that he does, whatever, it's harmless. But after he bullshitted to the detectives about Wendy, and then, of course, I learned more about his religion and this whole religious sham that he's pulling the last couple of last 50 years, really. Well, I got angry because Christians are supposed to always tell the truth. Christians aren't supposed to lie. Like, lying is not Christian. I don't understand this. So, like, Berkowitz is a bullshitter, and we just have to call it out. So instead of just saying that he's a bullshitter, of course, what we do here is we document everything we say with actual firsthand evidence, real proof. And of course, today we're going to be dealing with Berkowitz's own writings and his own talking, and more importantly, and most importantly, his actions. So great to see everyone out there. Really appreciate you hanging with me today. Today's not going to be too long a show, but it should be pretty fun, and we should have a good time. So, of course, the lone son of Sam loves to hawk his 1987 conversion story as if we're so stupid that we can't figure out that it's total hoosow. I mean, are you kidding me? This guy is still using his innocent face and his off-putting charm, such as it is, to fool people. And quite frankly, a lot of people want to be fooled. And of course, then there are some people out there who love to use this guy as a Christian grift. So there's all sorts of vultures and ghouls around this whole Christianity aspect of Berkowitz's life. And whereas I don't like that, it's really not my place to judge all that. All we can really do is tell you exactly is document Berkowitz's Christianity journeys through the years. Of course, all in the service of proving that this guy is full of shit. He's no Christian. This is a grift. This is a game that he plays on gullible suckers. He knows it. He knows it very well. His whole deal with his Christianity is, show me the money. Give me this. Can you send me that? Hey, I know you're Christian. Please do me a favor. Send me things. Please give me stuff. That's his whole deal with this Christianity crap. All right. So we're gonna expose him today in the only way that we know how, with the actual truth and with actual firsthand documented evidence. So we got quite a bit to do today. So why don't we just get started, shall we? Well, of course, today is all about BBC. And yes, we have taken that terminology and we're turning it on its head to mean something else. BBC, of course, to us means Berkowitz bullshit Christian, or Berkowitz's bullshit Christianity. I kind of haven't figured it out. Nico's Mas, show me the crayons. Yo, Maury, show me the coloring books. Of course, with Maury, he hadn't yet really perfected the Christian grift yet. It was only the 80s. It was the third time that he came to Christianity, as we'll prove. Even his conversion story is a lie that he hawks to everybody, and we'll see that. But yeah, show me the crayons, show me the coloring books, show me the typewriters, Maury, show me the prison commissary money, that $25. And of course, all this is easily shown if you just go to the People vs. David Berkowitz, you study the letters between Berkowitz and Maury Terry, and a clear pattern of bribery emerges from that. So no, Dave Moth, it's not British Broadcasting Corporation. Someone out there knows what BBC means. Anyway, but for our purposes, Berkowitz's bullshit Christianity. So I made up a little song here today, and we're gonna sing it to the tune of "I'm a Little Tea Spout." So here we go, guys. I hope you enjoy my little tune that I sort of modified to meet what the reality of how Berkey feels about this, and it goes, "I'm a bullshit Christian, short and stout. Here is my handle, and here is my spout." This is the truth of David Berkowitz right here, okay? This gun, this 44, and of course the 32 that he shot Wendy with, but the 44 that he became famous with buying Berkowitz crayons. I like it. Come up with all the good shit, guys, in the audience. I'll put it up there. So it's a grift, folks, and we're gonna show it today. So of course we have to set the table here with Berkowitz's conversion story. And so for that, what I did was I clipped a little part of the most recent Franchise and Caparelli video, this travesty, this absolute farce and a joke where they let this guy who's clearly thinks that both of these guys are schmucks. If you look at his body language and his eye movements, he's fooling these two just like he fooled Maury Terry, just like he fools all his other Christian friends. The only person, of course, that he doesn't fool is me and Mike Lorenzo. Those are the only two people that he's not fooling. And of course, you guys out there in the audience. But let's take a listen to Berkowitz's bullshit conversion story, and then we will carry on this discussion. So let me just get it set up here real quick. Here we go. Here's the Berkowitz's bullshit conversion story. And of course, this is the famous one. This is the one that he tells all the time, which of course gives zero historical accuracy, because this is actually the third time that he converted to Christianity, which of course means that he rescinded at least twice. Let's listen to what Berkowitz has to say.
But today, I mean, the Lord has totally transformed my life. I came to the Lord back in around end of 1987. And when another inmate, when I got to Sullivan, I was walking the yard on a cold winter night. And
I was walking the yard. God loves you, David.
Another inmate walked up to me and introduced himself and said, "Hey, how are you doing? My name is Rick. I know you're David. I know who you are." He says, "I just want you to know I'm praying for you. I like to get to know you as a friend. I see you walking sometimes. I'd like to join you," and things like that. And I looked at him and he said, "Well, I just want you to know, Dave, that Jesus Christ loves you. And he sent me here to this prison to tell you that." And I looked at him like, "Yeah, right. Yeah, sure. Okay." But he was just very friendly, and we kind of hit it off. And so we lived in different cell blocks. This was when I was in Sullivan Correctional Facility. And I'm going back quite a length of time. And we started to walk together in the yard. And I was already in prison now 10 years. I did 3 years in Attica, 7 years in Clinton. And then I went to Sullivan, where I ended up doing 28 years. But 10 years into my prison sentence, Rick and I began to hang out. He gave me a Gideon pocket Bible. He says, "Listen, I know you're Jewish. Would you like to read the Bible here?" I says, "Well," he says, "you check out the Psalms. The Psalms are written by King David. You'd like it." I said, "Yeah, okay, let me check it out." I put the Bible in my pocket, and we just hung out once in a while. But I started to, when I went back to my cell block some nights, I would start to read the Bible, start to read the Psalms. I was reading about King David and the struggles that he was going through. And I'm thinking like, wow, I didn't know, growing up, I heard about King David, Moses, but I didn't really focus on any of that. But I said, man, this king went through a lot of trouble. And he was always calling on God, God help me here, God help me there. My enemies are surrounding me, this and that. I'm reading this. I said, well, I can relate to that. So, but some nights when I'd read, I started to cry a little bit some tears will come down on my eyes. You know, this is when I was alone myself. And, you know, I didn't really think anything of it, but later I would see this was God softening my heart.
Blah, blah, blah. God softening my heart. King David. Now, notice that he uses King David. That's pretty interesting to me, King David, because he really thought that he was king. I mean, and of course, that's the passage that related to him. And of course, this led him to learning all his Bible passages. Oh, I remember this. John's 38, chapter 7, and the meek shall inherit the earth. And you could always fool somebody with a freaking Bible passage. It's the easiest thing to do to learn to learn a Bible passage, and then like con other Christians with it. Now, I just want to say that I have no disrespect against Christianity, against the true Christians. True Christians are some of the finest people I've ever met in my freaking life. I love them. True religious people are often very nice people, whether they're Jewish, Christian, Islam, Zen, Buddhist, and all that stuff. But this story is complete crap, all right? It just is. And the reason why that is because as will become more evident as we go along. So that was his conversion story. All right, so we've set the table. He's now a Christian. He turned Christian in 87. But let's take a look at Berkies' journeys through Christianity, because he's had several, and I mean actually several. 2 is a couple, and 3 is several. So he's had several. Let's listen to what John Comparetto had to say about the 1973-1974 period, where he was known to his friends as the Bible thumper. It's coming up. Whoops. Sorry.
He volunteered for Vietnam, and they sent him to Korea. And that was the destruction of Dave Berkowitz. The letters started becoming 7, 8, 9, 10 pages long. And all they did was preach the Bible. It would be, every word in the letter would be according to John, according to Michael, he'd have the sections.
So notice that he also, John Comparetto there, one of his best friends, this is a true primary source. Of course, that's what we do here at the Grossman Files. We don't read you newspaper articles to try to make specious connections that don't actually exist in the real world, like everyone else does. But that isn't a methodology that gets anybody anywhere. We're bringing you the actual people involved. So notice that even John Comparetto was like, yo, he could recite the passages. So in reality, this dude was a Bible thumper in 1973, 1974, and he was already relating Bible passages. Let's listen to a little more of what he has to say.
We believed he became, and this is a term we used way back then, a Bible thumper. We use the term a Jesus freak. He can't have a normal conversation.
And how true that is. So, all right. So what we've established, of course, is that Berkowitz in 1987 is so-called converted. And he's telling Franchise and Caparelli in 2023 about his 1987 conversion. And how come he didn't mention 73 or 74? How come he's acting with these two guys as if this is the first time that he ever converted to Christianity? Because he's sitting there. I heard about King David in school, right? But I had never read any of this. Emma Effer, your friend Comparetto just told us that in the 72 to 74 period, you were writing 9-page letters with Bible passages. What the hell, man? So we've already caught Berkowitz in his first lie. Okay. I used to say that Berkowitz isn't a liar, but he lies. I have amended that. And, people get angry at me. They're like, oh, you're so inconsistent. No, I'm not. My operating system updates with new information, just like your computer. Right? That's the way humans are wired. If you're ignorant to something, then you have certain beliefs. If you get new information that changes your beliefs, you change. I used to think Berkowitz was a truth teller who occasionally lied. I know that sounds strange, but that's what I thought, given the information I had. Now I know that he's just a complete and out liar, and he uses his innocent face just like he used to Wendy, just like he used to Joanne Lomino and Donna DeMasi, whose testimony was almost exactly like Wendy Savino's. He uses that. So now we've caught him in a lie, because in the conversion story to Franchise and Caparelli, he mentioned nothing about this. And we have further right. And as Maria, my friend Maria from Puerto Rico says, that's a very first big lie. Exactly. If you're a Christian, he was lying about his Christianity. You know that this guy is getting off when he's in the room with those two. He thinks of them as, and again, I don't think of them in this way, okay? I got no personal beefs with either one of those two, but they're public figures doing public work, and therefore they can be publicly criticized. This Christianity is full of shit, and we just saw it there. He just lied to their faces. Let's learn a little bit more about this Christianity conversion. I finally converted. On May 18th, 1974, David was baptized in the First Baptist Church along with more than 20 others. I went through the thing. They wanted to dunk you in water. Yeah, I went through it because you're supposed to. If you want to get in there, join. I didn't want to lose my Jewishness, but again, I wanted to be with these people, right? After the baptism, the group accepted me. I continued to pray as a Christian, but toward the ends of my tour at Fort Knox, I began to lose interest in Christian stuff. I could never stay with anything too long. This is what's very interesting about this passage. Berkowitz has good insight into his personality. He could never stay with anything too long. That's a true statement. Why? Because in order for him to have been converted in 1987, he would have already have had to give up Christianity at least once. And as we're going to learn, he gave it up twice. A lot of people have no clue about the second conversion of David Berkowitz. And really, that's kind of the nut meat of this show. So let's carry on, because actually this first diving into Baptist hellfire preaching religion actually inspired the Son of Sam. The ideas about demons came to me when I attended a Baptist church in Louisville, Kentucky, when I was in the service. All the sermons were about demons, sin, hell, eternal damnation, etc. I believe this also had a bad effect on my life and mind. So for those of you who are still hawking this stupid shit about process involvement in Son of Sam, first of all, it's been debunked. It's like completely never existed. It only happened in the diseased mind of Maury Terry. First, of course, it was The Way, with Lou Pearlman speaking in tongues in a diner where Wee Carr just happened to be sitting next to them, and they were speaking in tongues, and they were planning the Son of Sam crimes in a diner, and Lou Pearlman heard about it and then told Maury Terry. I mean, are you kidding me? You're seeing in this passage right here that all the shit that he learned about hell and damnation and sin and all that stuff, he learned as a Baptist when he was a Christian in 1974. Okay. Now, this is a well-known conversion. Everybody knows that Berkowitz was a Christian in the army. It's one of the famous things about him, which is weird that people would let him, especially Caparelli, who supposedly knows about this case and who knows the history of Berkowitz. How could he let him get away with that lie? I'm not going to answer that question because I don't know the answer to that question. But Caparelli should have known about these previous conversions and asked Berkowitz about that. But instead, he just sat there while Berkowitz hoosowed him and said, I became a Christian in 87. Rick came up to me and said, God loves you. And then I cried in my thing about reading about King David, who I related to me because my name's David and I'm that big of a narcissist, an egomaniac, that I'm going to relate to a king in the Bible. And that's what's going to inspire me. I mean, are you out of your mind? Seriously. So let's learn more about what he truly felt, though, about this religion as he was going through it. And of course, this is a handwritten letter to his psychiatrist, David Abramson, where I believe he was the most truthful out of everything he's ever said. And the reason why I believe it is because Berkowitz's letters to Abramson are so detailed about his life and go into so much history and that verifiable stuff, things that I've actually verified with his friends, with his firsthand acquaintances and firsthand friends. So I can say as a Son of Sam expert that the Abramson letters are your best bet into getting an insight into Berkowitz. Okay. Everything else after that is hoosow. Maury Terry stuff, because he was being bribed. This Christianity stuff, as I'm trying to make a case for in this show. And of course, his latest sin against God was lying to the Detective Klein and his team when they asked him about Wendy Savino. This guy could have come clean. In fact, Berkowitz said in this interview with the cops that the sketch looked exactly like him. The MO was his. He admitted all this. He said that the thing with the dogs that I came up with, he confirmed it absolutely, that he would go out and shoot somebody when he would write these letters about dogs. And he even said, if I was in a court of law, I would convict myself for this crime. But then he has to lie about it. And believe me, Berkowitz has more bodies. I'm telling you, this guy has more bodies. Why is it such a hard thing for people to conceive? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the people who still think that he only did Son of Sam for that 1 year, they're all influenced by the spiritually sick Rupert Murdoch's and his myth of the Son of Sam. So anyway, let's get back to are you for real? I wish I still had that. All right, so let's get this. So at Beth Haven Church, I enrolled in every program. I went to church. Now, this is in his army days. So, okay, so this is still, we're in still in that 73 period. I went to church on Sunday, getting up at 6 a.m. I stayed in church from 9 a.m. until 10 p.m. all day Sunday. I went to the Wednesday night service, the Thursday soul winning outing, the Friday night meetings, etc. I listened to religious broadcasts constantly, 7 days a week. I read dozens of religious books. I was enthralled with the doctrine of the apocalypse, the end of the world, and the everlasting punishment of sinners. Hell fascinates me. I spent my days telling my peers and superior officers of the need to be saved and of the tragic increase in sexual immorality and permissiveness of our day. Yet at 5 p.m., when the work of the day ended, I couldn't wait to get back to my room in the barracks and masturbate. So here he is talking about masturbation in relationship to Christianity. That's blasphemous. Okay, that's actually quite spiritually sick right there. A couple things about this. Number one, I was enthralled with the doctrine of the apocalypse. So no wonder he knew about the apocalypse and the end of the world and the battles between good and evil, all that Processian bullshit that people actually think is serious. He was learning it here. He's telling you this. Hell fascinates me. All of this is backed up by what Comparetto just said about how he would send 9-page letters to his friends about religion. And just one more thing. Look at that caret right here, this triangle going up that says work. That's a very typical Berkowitz thing because you see it all over his writings. Oh, where else do I see it? Oh, in the Son of Sam Breslin letter. Okay, just more confirmation of that. Not that we needed it. My secret wish. This is interesting. To blaspheme. Now, I want Caparelli to hear this because I don't know what that dude's deal is. Like I said, I don't have a problem with him. I'm not here to start a fight with Mike Caparelli. That's not my deal. I want to get along with the guy. But we're coming at this from different philosophical perspectives. And I, quite frankly, think that his is complete bullshit. I'm not saying that he's doing it on purpose. He's probably being fooled by Berkowitz. Because listen to this. My secret wish to blaspheme. Consciously, I prefer evil over the good. Truly, I hope that evil triumphs one day. This I've always kept a secret from everyone. I feel nervous because I know that God knows my secret wish. I'd rather read Aleister Crowley than St. John any day. I would love to read the Satanic Bible. I'd love to rip up the New Testament. I desire to blaspheme at the top of my lungs and shout obscenities at God. I think Christ is obnoxious. So here's the truth right here. This dude's talking about, oh, I masturbated when I got back from church and masturbations. I secretly wish to blaspheme, right? Think about how much fun this guy is having when he has all these Christians basically kissing his ass, thinking that this guy is speaking for them. He's converted to Christ and the ever-loving Lord. I mean, look, like I said, I'm not here making fun of Christianity. I respect the religion. I respect all religions. I'm not a religious person personally. I was bar mitzvahed, but that was that was mainly to get money for my first drum set and my first car. You know, that's the long and short of it. That's the truth of it. Although I must admit that I loved Hebrew school. I loved learning Hebrew. I can still read it to this day. But, you know, I grew up half Jewish and half Puerto Ricans. My parents didn't push religion on me. It wasn't a thing in our household. So I chose at the age of 12 to be, about 10 to 11. I was a little late to be bar mitzvahed. And I loved it. I had a great time, but I never went back to synagogue after. So, but the point that I'm really trying to make here is that my problem isn't with religion. I just want to make this clear so people don't take me out of context like they do with Trump. My problem is with bullshit hucksters like David Berkowitz and people who respect him and think that he's a Christian. It's complete crap. As we're seeing it here, my secret wish is to blaspheme. Yo, when somebody tells you who they are, you believe them. I really think I used this religious kick to escape reality and loneliness. It was really a crutch, but boy, did I get hooked with it. I became a fanatic. So there's echoes of what later happened in Son of Sam. He became a fanatic on the other side with demons and thinking he was serving the demons, and Son of Sam became a job to him. That was really what it was all about. So now, rescinding Christianity and the Son of Sam. So what am I talking about here? About rescinding Christianity and the Son of Sam. Well, what I'm talking about is if he was religious in the army, right? And he was going to church 7 days a week or whatever the hell he said. I'm not going to go back and look. He was spending all day in church and learning the Bibles and then going back to his barracks and jerking off. So if he was this religious nut sending Bible passage letters to all his friends back who thought that he was a Jesus freak Bible thumper, well, he had to have rescinded it come at least 1975 when he stabbed Michelle Foreman. And he definitely had to rescind it by April 9th of 1976 when he shot Wendy. And certainly by July 29th, 1976 when he shot Donna Lauria and Jody Valenti. In other words, the Son of Sam crimes weren't Christian. The Son of Sam was not Christian. There's nothing Christian about going out and shooting and killing innocent people in cold blood randomly. I mean, is that Christian? I don't find that Christian. So in other words, my friends, Berkowitz rescinded Christianity at least once, and then he went out and committed the Son of Sam crimes. Now, where do we go from here? Well, there's his unknown Christianity. And this is where people are going to want to really start listening up, because everyone knows about, well, not everybody, but a lot of people, especially students of this case, they know about his 1974, early 70s conversion. It's part of the lore of Son of Sam. You know it. Everybody knows his 1987 conversion story. And for those of you who weren't with us earlier, I'll just tell it to you in a nutshell. I was in the prison yard and I was walking around and Rick came up and said, God loves you, David. And then I picked up a Bible and read passages, and then I was cried, and then King David spoke to me and I related to King David, and then I cried and I became a Christian. Like, that's the deal with this dude. But the post-arrest Christianity is interesting because this shows that this is a pattern with this guy, and none of it is serious. He already rescinded it first to commit the Son of Sam crimes. He was talking about jerking off and masturbating and blaspheming while he was a Christian back in those days. Post-arrest Christianity. So this is from, I'm sorry. Hold on, let me just, my camera got screwed up. Give me a second. So this is from the Good Housekeeping article, the famous Good Housekeeping article. His next letters to his family. So this is talking about after he was arrested. Okay. His next letters to his family were imbued with his new obsession. In January 78, now we're in 1978, he wrote to his mother, "I want to talk to you about God and your future," and urged her to put herself in God's hands. About the same time, he wrote to Roz and Leo that he'd been busy reading his Bible and praying. In February 78, he wrote to his mother that something wonderful had happened in his life. He had found the Messiah of Israel, Jesus Christ, and we love each other. That's right. I believe Jesus is the savior of the world. By the way, with the OU right there. Sorry, Maury. Berkowitz loved to put OUs. Okay. Savior of the world for both Jews and Gentiles. And with this, I have a new hope. In fact, I have great hope that you will one day find Christ and get saved. I know it's hard to fathom now, yet I am certain that one day Miss Betty Falco will shine as a light in the darkness to all her Jewish friends. I am certain that in the years to come, you, Mom, will become a Christian. Please, Mom, pour your heart out to God. I'm crying now. Love you forever, Richard. So, all right. So I don't understand this. This is his second time documented, as we've seen, becoming a Christian. But how come it says he just found the Messiah of Israel, right? Like, so here he is again becoming a Christian right after prison. In Klausner's book, 11/26/77, I have made myself a promise not to remain locked up behind bars forever. I have a debt to pay society, and one day I will be free to repay it. I must repay society, and now that I am a Christian, I will work to help other people find true freedom and eternal life. In this hospital, I found Jesus Christ, and it is him who I am obligated to. I must tell society about the truth and hope. And then, of course, a passage from this other letter here. I owe my freedom to Jesus Christ, the Son of God. I and the Father are one, says Jesus. So here we go. He rescinded Christianity to become the son of Sam. Then he gets arrested, and all of a sudden he becomes a Christian again. So enter Sister Ollie Smith, and this is where we get into the Wendy Savino archives. I really knew nothing about this woman, and I didn't realize that she had played some role in Berkowitz's immediate post-arrest life. But I found an article in the Wendy Savino archives, and here's Sister Ollie Smith. And here's Sister Ollie Smith. Okay. Stock photos by Alamy here. Give me 1 second. I just got to turn the phone off. I apologize. Sorry, it'll just have to ring. So Sister Ollie Smith. So I found this article in the archives of Savino, and well, I thought it was interesting because, and we're not going to read the whole thing. I'll put this up on my Twitter, and for those of you who are in the Facebook group, I'll put this up. But this talks about born again Berkowitz and Sister Smith, and Jimmy Breslin wrote it. Now I have to say that I think this might be unpopular, although I don't think anybody really gives a shit anymore. Jimmy Breslin sucks as a writer. The dude's a blowhard. He's so wordy, and he goes on forever. I don't understand how this guy became such a legend. I find his writing to be extremely tedious. But be that as it may, this article was in the a 1978 or maybe late 77 paper. I should have had the date, but obviously it's post arrest. And I just excerpted out the best passages for us to study. So now the person who speaks to Berkowitz with the most effect is 58-year-old woman named Ollie Smith. She is from Brooklyn, and she is known as Sister Smith, and David Berkowitz sits in his cell and chants the hymns she has taught him. 2 months ago, after long meetings with Sister Smith, Berkowitz announced he would plead guilty to murder. This would mean a one-day court appearance to pleading guilty and then a jail cell for probably the rest of his life. Berkowitz would be ineligible to meet the parole board for 30 years. His application almost certainly would be turned down. His lawyers spoke to Berkowitz, but hardly in the same voice that accompanied Sister Smith on her visits to the prison ward. Sometimes when Sister Smith speaks to David, the two must pause in order to let God speak directly. Sister Smith was found yesterday at her job at Lula's Beauty Rama on Tompkins Avenue in Brooklyn. She was in a blue smock and pink curlers, and her hands kneaded the hair of a customer. So Sister Smith was, I got to look more into her. I mean, not that I really care about her too much, but this is the second page of that article, a rather long article, but these are the relevant passages. The first time I saw Mr. Berkowitz was on December 13th, 1977. What did you say to him? She was asked. I am a firm believer in Jesus Christ, and I talked to him about the goodness of God. A person becomes a born believer. That means born again by believing in a true and living God. Any man in Christ is a new creature. Does David believe he is a new creature too? She was asked. He thinks he is a new creature, she said. He says the demons don't bother him anymore. He enjoys talking about the goodness of God and how merciful God is because David has been forgiven. How did he become born again? She was asked. He came out of his cell one day with the Bible in his hand and he was singing a hymn. We always sing together. Which hymn? He likes Standing on the Promises of Christ my King. When she was asked the words to the hymn, she raised her head and began to sing, Through eternal ages, praise his reign. If Berkowitz is a new creature, what do we do about these murders from the past? She was asked. According to the laws of the land, we got to pay, she said. They tell me that you made David plead guilty, she was told. That is not true, she said. I never told you that, and if you put that in, that's a lie. God hates a liar. God could have done it. He could have spoken to David. I'm only God's instrument. Anything that David heard from God is between he and his God. Does God speak to you and David, she was asked. God does speak. He speaks scripturally, and you recognize his voice. God said, my sheep know my voice. That is how you hear God talk. Do his lawyers talk to you? She was asked. I'm not going into that, she said. She fell silent. On the radio in the room, a minister said that Christ would free us all. I mean, that's what I'm talking about with this whole, he gets like so wordy here at the end. I don't understand the point of this last sentence. But interesting that his conversion story here is kind of the same as his conversion story to Franchise and Caparelli, right? He came out of his cell with the Bible and he was singing a hymn. So this dude converted like crazy right after he was arrested to Christianity. Now, how long did that last? Because remember, he said he could never stick with anything long. Well, here's his second rescission. March 20th, 1979. He's talking about all these books that he read where he got his demon story from, right? This is where the demon story, this is the reason I pled. I read all these books, Rosemary's Baby. We've dealt with that, all that. But it has religious overtones, but it is also medical, so to speak. I am not a Christian, nor am I religious. I'm somewhat agnostic, but I once had a very strong beliefs in religion, the occult, and the supernatural. All right, so at least he's telling the truth half here, right? So he's not a Christian or religious. He says he once had strong beliefs. All right, so now he's not a Christian anymore. So in Sister Ollie Smith's world, in 1977, when she met him, he was a freaking Christian going nuts, singing the Bibles with a Bible in his hand, coming out of his cell. What was he doing? The freaking horror while holding the Bible aloft about through his eternal ages, praise his reign. I mean, are you kidding me? So in 74, he was a Christian. He rescinded it to become Son of Sam. 77, he was a Christian. He rescinded it by 1979, where he says, I'm not a Christian. Okay. And then talking about religion to a psychiatrist, he goes, am I suggestible? Did Ollie Smith brainwash me or use suggestive methods to control me? What made me turn to Christianity? Look, there's another carrot there, the thing that's in the letter to Breslin. In the service, what made me turn to Christianity? In the service, in Kings County. So here he is talking about 2 times he was religious. At the time, was I living in a fantasy world of unreal religion? Was my involvement with these Christians just out of psychological need, a love substitute? Well, actually, those are quite insightful questions, which is why I always say that Berkowitz is no dummy. This dude has a lot of intelligence. He has a lot of insight into his own self. And consequently, as such an intelligent person, such a well-written person, his manipulative skills are off the chart. This is a guy who we know shot from Wendy to Stacy Moskowitz and Robert Violante, killed 6 and shot 8 and wounded 8. We know he stabbed Michelle Foreman and possibly another woman. We know that there were these incidents allegedly in Yonkers where he's shooting people with a .22 rifle. He's shooting dogs. He's lighting Molotov cocktails and all this stuff. But yet people still think, even to this day, he has fan clubs of people who think that he's good. He's still using his face to fool you idiots. And he's loving every second of it. This dude has a lot of insight into his own personality. Let's read this one. It's gotten to the point where I've given up hope of ever evolving to a spiritual state such as I had at Beth Haven. That's 1974 period, which was merely mental, not genuine. At least it was something. Besides, I don't want to get on this religious kick again and have to pound the gospel down people's throats like I did in Kentucky. Oh? So he's saying here he doesn't want to ever be religious again. He's rescinded it. He doesn't ever want to do it again. Then what's up with this whole, I'm a Christian now, I'm a Bible passager lover. I know every John's 38 chapter 2, if Essenes 38:25 or whatever. I have no clue how to, whatever. He's saying to you here that he has no desire to ever be Christian again. So that, of course, that begs the question, is his newest conversion true and real? And for that, I have another perspective. Now, what I'm about to show you is a comment I found on one of these videos. I forget exactly which one. And I honed in on it because it talks about this exact thing that we're talking about in this article. And I happen to know for a fact that Berkowitz, to this day, with his Christian friends, it's all transactional. His obsession to this day with his Christian friends, I know for an absolute 100% fact. And if anybody wants to challenge me on this, you got a challenge, boy. Because what I'm about to say is total fact. This dude is constantly talking about to his people, oh, can you buy me this? Can you buy me that? What can you get me? So because I know that, this comment that we're about to look at here, which is pretty long and we're going to read it in chunks, was so directionally accurate that I actually think it's true. And I think it's very important to read to give you guys another perspective on Berkowitz's alleged Christianity. All right. I had a friend who did time with Berkowitz in New York. Yeah, Berkowitz. That was what the other prisoners called him. He did not really spend time with him, like one-on-one, but knew some of the people in David's circle. Most prisoners did not like him. He is an ass. David laughed about the families of his victims helping him, sending money to his ministry. The ministry in the prison is more like a cult or gang. Outside the prison, it includes many older women, nuns, and people who have good hearts but are maybe a little too nice. From what I have heard outside, support came from nuns who brought in church members who brought in friends. A lot of satanic panic and insanity plea crap made people feel sorry for him. All right. So very interesting, this first part of this comment, right? Because he was known as Berkowitz. I know corrections officers. I know people that have said the same exact thing to me, that he was known as Berkowitz. Here he is talking about how he's laughing about the families of his victims helping him, sending him money. And here we have, of course, the main progenitors of this crap are these idiots who still believe the satanic panic bullshit of the 80s and who probably think that Berkowitz is innocent of these crimes. And I know they're all going to listen to this. They're more obsessed with me than anyone. David said he figures no shows to his parole hearings make him look good, as does making it look like he doesn't care if he gets out. He figures doing that makes him look remorseful so he can get out earlier. He is a manipulative person to this day who will agree with or play on any story to lessen his guilt on his crimes. He finds the multitude of cult and insanity claims funny. He loves the attention he gets and will tell just about any story he can to get that attention. He will speak with new prisoners about whatever theory they want as long as they listen and hopefully share their commissary, even though he gets plenty. So there's misspellings, but I like that in this. Now, where have we seen this before? Well, we saw it with the Berkey-Morey letters. Berkowitz was doing this exact thing. I'm telling you, this comment is one, this person's telling the truth. Not because I want it to be true, but because the evidence shows it. If you look at the Berkey-Morey letters, they all say that. Berkowitz is constantly talking about money, and Morey Terry is constantly sending him money and prison commissary and Bibles and crayons and coloring books and typewriters and typewriter ribbons. That's this comment playing out. Berkowitz was asking for stuff and was telling Morey any story he wanted to hear as long as the commissary was getting filled. He reads everything he can about himself. He reads everything he can about himself and then tries to readjust his public image accordingly. His ministry is a joke inside the prison. He even jokes with the guards about it. The guards don't speak out for various reasons. He has actually had minor issues with other prisoners because of how lightly he respects the idea of a ministry. He makes inappropriate jokes all the time, not so much directly about his victims, but about serial killers and crime in general. Again, this all came from a friend who was in prison with David, but he had no reason to lie to me. I did check, and he was in prison with him. My friend's character aside, he is a scumbag in his own right. He had no reason to bring all this up unless it was at least mostly true. I can say for sure that there's no way in hell this person could write this knowing so much about David, about what we know about David, without this being true. So interesting, and you know what even strikes me as true about this, because he jokes about serial killers. Well, we know from our psychiatric Sunday series that I used to do that Berkowitz was obsessed with true crime and he knew the history of every serial killer. So that's accurate. So this is the truth, guys. This last perspective that you saw is the actual reality of David Berkowitz's religion. This guy is full of total and absolute and utter shit. He is not a Christian in any way, shape, or form. He uses his religion, just like he uses his smile, as a weapon to put people off guard so they can give him things and he could continue to victimize people. Because remember, I'm a bullshit Christian, short and stout. Here is my handle. And here is my spout. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for being with me today. I will see you on the next show. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much.